Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear student of second secondary, we are going to solve questions for April exam. We have different questions. We will revise and starting with the unit 3 or chapter 3. We have different questions. Please join us for having solving all the examples and all the exercises that we have discovered. Okay, let's going to our first questions. Question number 1 says that what is the meaning of what is the breaking of bond between atoms of the reactant molecules to form new bonds between atoms of product molecules. Okay, we said we have the reaction happen between the atoms of reactant. It is the first item or the something at the beginning. To remember the items of the previous year, we must remember or starting with the old information or old knowledge. We have the definition of chemical reaction. Okay, what is the meaning of chemical reaction? We said that we will take it before in the third prep. We have it is a breaking down of bond in or between the molecules of reactant to form a new bond between the molecules of product of atoms of the product. Okay, so the right answer will be letter B. Here is a chemical reaction, not a chemical bond, not a chemical compound, not a mixture formation. So it's a definition. We must remember all the old knowledges that we have studied before. Okay, we said that we have a kind of open book questions, means that we remember all the knowledge of chemistry that we studied before. Okay, let's going to question 2. Okay, we said that we have scientists who differentiated between the lone pair and bond pair. Okay, we said that we have Lewis and Kossel forming the Lewis dot diagram and make the differentiation of the behavior of what of the electrons, but only one differentiate between the lone pair and bond pair. Lone pair that present on the atom alone on and only carry its charge, but we have the bond pair. That means that we have reaction or bond formed between the atom and the other atom. Okay, so we have the scientists that make this differentiation. We have the Lewis also, he made this one and illustrate the differentiation between each of the lone pair and bond pair. Okay, Berzelius and de Broglie, Kossel, not our interest, so we have the right answer here will be Lewis. Okay, let's going to question 3. Question 3 says that electron pair is found in one of the outer orbitals and doesn't share in bond formation is known as. Okay, if we said that we have a pair of electron that not participate or not sharing in reaction, we call them what? We call them lone pair. We call them what? Lone pair. But if we have the pairs of electrons that responsible for the bond formation or making the bond, that we call them what? Bond pair. Okay, try to understand the definitions as try to read the sentence correctly. Okay, so we have the right answer. First one lone pair and second one bond pair, and the right answer will be letter B. Okay, I think it's easy question and you have to understand every word to solve all the choices that we have. Okay, let's going to question 4. Question 4 says that what is or are from physical bonds. Okay, we said that we have a big classification for the bonds. We have the main classification. We have the bonds classified into two types, chemical one and physical one. We have the chemical and physical. From the chemical we have ionic, covalent and coordinate. Okay, ionic covalent and coordinate. They are the three are ionic compounds or ionic bond formed. But the other we have that making the physical, the other kind are physical, the other kind is physical bonds that formed, or we have two types here. We have the hydrogen bond and what, and the metallic bond. Okay, it's means that inside the atom affected by element itself, not affected by, here we have the metallic effect on the element itself, and the hydrogen bond may present on a substance that has high polarity, so it will make elasticity in the bond, so it will make a physical character that belong to the substance only. So them we call them what? Physical bond. Okay, so the right answer will be hydrogen and the metallic are from the physical bond, so the right answer will be D, A and B. Okay, let's go into question 5. Question 5 says that what is usually formed between elements of the two terminals of the periodic table? What the meaning of two terminals means that we have the left side and right side. If we are talking from the left, we taking the metals, and we take the non-metals from the other side of the table. What do we mean by this? That we make a big difference in electronegativity between the metal and non-metal, that we will form what? We will form ionic bond. So the right answer will be ionic bond. Okay, let's go into question 6. Question 6 says that when the horizontal distance between the bonded elements in the periodic table increase, then the strength in bond, ionic bond that formed, what happened to it? Okay, as we said, when we take one from the group 1A and the other from group 7A, so we have a high distance between them, so the electronegativity will be high, difference in electronegativity will be high, as and this make the ionic bond strong. If but if we take one in group 2A and the other also in group 7A, the difference in electronegativity decreases, so the ionic bond will decreases. But here we have the ionic bond between the 1 and 7, the high distance between them along the horizontal side of the table, so we have high electronegativity, high difference in electronegativity, that making what? That making the ionic character or ionic bond increases. So the right answer will be letter A, increases. Okay, let's going to question 7. Question 7 says that what is the bond that is chemical bond? Okay, so we have all our kinds that we have here are chemical, which is formed between metal and non-metal. Okay, without anything, it is the first time that we will depend on the metal and non-metal. Okay, so we must complete the word. We must complete our words to complete the sentence. We have the differentiate in electronegativity between them is more than what? 1.7. Okay, so we have what? We have difference high, greater than or more than 1.7, like what? Like when we take any polar covalent compound like water, that make what between them, like sodium and chlorine, we have what? We have bond difference in electronegativity high, so we will have what? We will have high formation of ionic bond. So the right answer will be also ionic bond. Okay, different questions on the ionic bond at the beginning. Let's go into question 8. Okay, question 8 says that molten sodium chloride conducts electricity more or less or equal molten magnesium chloride. Okay, when we are talking about molten sodium, so we mention the character or belong to it as a metal or alloy that can conduct electricity very high. Okay, so we must contain them or take them to conduct electricity, but we when make a comparing between them, we have sodium chloride. The difference in electronegativity between sodium and chlorine is very high comparing to the magnesium chloride. So the compound, ionic compound sodium chloride, will conduct electricity greater than what? Greater than magnesium chloride, okay, or more than magnesium chloride. Let's going to question 9. Question 9 says that chloride, which one of the metals here, shows properties of covalent bond. Okay, as we said that we are going through the third period in the table, we have group 1A, group 2A, and group 3A. As we have going along the period from left to from left to right, we have the group 1A, group 2A, and group 3A. That the one with group 1A that has a high property or high ionic bond, making the difference between what? Between the covalent and between the metal and non-metal, and the other one less will be 2A and less 3A. So if we have the property of conducting electricity, we will have high ionic bond that formed between the one in group 1A and group 2 and group 7A. But we have, if we want to get 2A and 7A, also we have high difference. But when we go to the group 3A, we will going to have 3 electrons in the outermost energy level, so we are going to decrease in the difference in electronegativity, as we are going to be like the covalent bond in the characters. So we are talking about what? We are talking about one that has 3 electrons in the third energy level, so we are talking about aluminium. So the right answer here will be aluminium. Okay, let's going to question 10. Question 10 says that what is the bond which is formed between the elements of the same or close in their electronegativity and by sharing electrons? Okay, we said that we have one difference in electronegativity between them relatively low, and they make a sharing for electrons. So we are talking about what? We are talking about covalent bond. We are talking about covalent bond. So the right answer will be letter B. Let's go into question 11. Question 11 says that when the difference in electronegativity between elements forming the bond is less than 1.7 and greater than 0.4, the formed bond is, okay, we said we have a kind of bond when the difference in electronegativity between them from 0.4 to 1.7. So the bond will be what? We have from at 0 we have a pure covalent. From 0 to 0.4, above 0 till 0.4, that we have non-polar covalent. And more than it, if we have from 0.4 till 1.7, we have what? We have a polar covalent bond. So the right answer will be letter C, polar covalent bond. Okay, this is easy question, and you have to mention the difference between each one. And if we are talking about greater than 1.7, we are talking about what? Ionic bond. Okay, let's going to question 12. Question 12 says that the bond between carbon and hydrogen is a nonpolar covalent bond. Okay, do you think that's right? Okay, yes, that's right. No. Why? As we have the difference in electronegativity between carbon and hydrogen relatively high, so They are polar covalent bond. They form a polar covalent bond. Carbon form with hydrogen 4 polar covalent bond when making the compound formation between them. Okay, let's going to question 13. Question 13 says that in hydrochloric molecule or hydrogen chloride molecule, there is a complete negative charge on chlorine ion and complete negative charge on hydrogen ion. Okay, we said we have a kind of bond here, covalent, and we have a polar covalent compound. So we having we haven't the property of ionic. We can't put positive or negative ion, but we put a partial positive and a partial negative on them, so it is a wrong sentence here. We can't put a negative charge on chlorine and positive charge on hydrogen, but we put a partial with the sign of like sigma. We have partial positive and other on the chlorine partial negative. Okay, this is, we have a partial charge, not a completely, as we have a sharing of electrons between each one. Okay, let's go into question 14. Question 14 says that in water molecule H2O, the electron pairs spend more time in vacancy of what, of oxygen atom. In vacancy means that in the what, in the space, or what, in the area or cloud area surrounding the nucleus of oxygen atom. So oxygen has high electronegativity as it attracts electrons more than hydrogen, so the electrons are most time exist on the oxygen atom. So the strong atom that has high number of electrons that attract or make the bond toward its side or in the space of its atom. So the sentence will be right here, so it is a right sentence, and we have the right that we are attract the electrons of the bond to the strongest one or the greatest one of the electronegativity. Okay, let's going to question 15. Question 15 says that ammonia NH3 gas is a polar molecule as it has 3 polar bonds. Okay, we said that ammonia and nitrogen N that carry 3 electrons that needed to making a share with them. So we have 3 electrons that can make a bond. So we have 3 bonded electrons, and they are polar also, and the difference between the nitrogen and the hydrogen is relatively high. So we have 3 polar bonds. We have 3 polar bonds inside the polar molecule of ammonia NH3. Okay, but it less than water in the electronegativity, but it less than water in the polarity. Okay, so it is a polar ammonia and water, but ammonia less than water in the electronegativity. Okay, let's going to question 16. Question 16 says that most of the noble gases are diatomic element. Okay, do you think that we have the noble gases? Noble gases are inactive and make the ability or have the rule of octet rule that its outer valence completely filled contain 8 electrons, so it doesn't need to form a bond or to be diatomic molecule, so it will be alone or single atom or monoatomic element. So it's a wrong sentence here. Let's go to question 17. Question 17 says that the valence electrons have an important role in the nature of the formed bond. Okay, yes, it's right sentence. They are the main behavior, or we said that it makes the behavior of the atom to forming the bond, if it can form the bond or not, if it can carry the property of the ability of making bond or no. So the valence electrons, that has important rule. Yes, it's giving the nature of formed bond on the atom of element. Okay, let's going to question 18. Question 18 says that the ionic bond has a materialistic existence. Okay, do you think that? We said that it's a it's an electrostatic attraction force between positive ion and negative ion. This means that something invisible that we didn't see but we feel it by different way, by the presence of good conductor of electricity, by high melting point and boiling point, but we didn't we didn't feel the materialistic existence as a ionic bond here. If we take some salts in your hand and carry them, you didn't feel the materialistic existence of the ionic bond, so it's not present, or we didn't has a materialistic existence of the ionic bond. Okay, let's going to question 19. Question 19 says that the properties of compound differs according to difference in electronegativity between their elements. Okay, yes, this is the our property, or the main that we take here, that we have the all the compounds of the chemical compounds, that we have ionic and covalent from its kinds, that we have we have the depending on the difference in electronegativity between their elements. Okay, so the property here of a compound depend on the difference between them. Okay, let's going to 20. Question 20 says that the molten what don't conduct electricity. Okay, we said if we want to conduct electricity, we have the molten or solution of a compound here, but we have a substance that we said that has a low in electronegativity, or the difference in electronegativity between the elements of the compound relatively low, so it will behave like a covalent bond, so it will don't conduct electricity as it is from the property of covalent compound. So we have aluminium chloride. We have what? We have aluminium chloride. Letter B. It's a substance that that make the property of covalent bond, that it don't conduct or doesn't conduct doesn't conduct electricity. So we have lithium chloride, wrong one, sodium chloride and magnesium chloride. All of them are greater in the conducting electricity higher than aluminium chloride, but it be different in aluminium chloride. We called it maybe changes to supplement or behave like a covalent compound, as difference in electronegativity is low between the atoms of the elements forming the compound. Okay, let's going to question 22 says that the covalent bonding in methane molecules require what? Require what electrons? Okay, we said that we have in methane that we require in covalent bond require what electrons? Require two electrons. Require what? Require two electrons. So the covalent bonding in methane molecules require two electrons only. Okay, as we have completely to form the molecule forming the bonding covalent bond. Okay, let's going to question 23. Question 23 says that what is the highest boiling and melting point? Okay, when we are going to talk about compound, it will be different from the elements. Okay, we said when we are talking on the compound here, we have a high difference depending on only the property difference in electronegativity. So we have highest one in electronegativity, or the difference between atom forming the compound. We have two, we have what we have magnesium chloride, aluminum chloride, lithium chloride, and sodium chloride. Okay, we neglected magnesium chloride and aluminum chloride. We have two here. We have lithium chloride and sodium chloride. Do you think which one will be highest in electronegativity? Okay, we said that by increasing the number of electrons along the group we have in the group 1A from up to down, so the atom will be attract electrons less than the first one. Okay, so the attraction of electrons or the strong nuclear force will be decreases as we go from up to down. So the one that has strong attraction to the nucleus, that of lithium, as it has a small size, so the electrons has the ability to make the bond very strongly. So we have high melting point and high boiling point. So the right answer will be lithium chloride. Right answer will be what? Lithium chloride. Okay, let's go into question 24. Question 24 says that the mixing of sulfur powder and iron filing don't produce a chemical compound. Yes, we have some iron filing and some sulfur. We make a mixing? No, we make a mixing only, not making a kind of bond that making a compound. Okay, it's not a chemical compound that make a reaction between or make kind of any bond like ionic or covalent bond. Okay, so the right answer will be what will be right. Mixing of them not produce a chemical compound, not only just a mixture only. Okay, let's go into question 25. Question 25 says that the bond in hydrogen chloride molecule is a polar covalent bond. Okay, yes, is a polar covalent, and while that of chlorine molecule is a pure covalent bond. Yes, we have here the question 26 on combining magnesium and chlorine. Magnesium and chlorine here, each one has a difference in electronegativity, giving what? Giving less activity. So the compound, but we have difference also, may be large, not comparing to the aluminum chloride. So we have the character, we have the character of what? We have the character of ionic bond. We have the character of what? We have the character of ionic bond, as the difference of in electronegativity relatively high between the magnesium and chlorine. Let's go into question 27 and last question of our group of questions today. Okay, question 27 says that the melting point of sodium Na11 is more than of magnesium Mg12. Okay, do you think it's a right sentence? No, it's a wrong one. Let's discuss what we are talking when we are talking about only the element here. We are talking about just what? Just the behavior of the atom. We have all the metals of the period 3 starting from group 1A, 2A, and 3A. We have sodium, magnesium, and aluminium. As we go from the one that has Na has 1 electron, magnesium has 2 electrons, and aluminium has 3 electrons. So by increasing the number of electrons, the strength of the element as a metal increases. So we have the character that we have, both of them have the character of what? Of high? No, the one that has highest melting point will be what? Will be aluminium, and with it will be hard in the nature, but less than it has less temperature or less melting point, that will be what? Will be magnesium. And least one in the melting point will be sodium. So the melting point of sodium, depending on the number of electrons in the valence electrons, so we have here ability to conduct electricity or ability to melting point. So the less one will be sodium, and above it will be magnesium, and above the highest one that has high melting point and high conducting of electricity as an element and high hardness comparing to each one will be what will be the aluminium. Okay, we said that different between the element as in nature and by forming a chemical bond like ionic bond formed between them. Okay, this is the last question of our group of questions today. I hope you understand every point that we discussed today. Please try to solve a lot of questions. Thank you for joining. Please study hard for the exam. If you have any questions, please you can connect us with any different of communication. We have also different videos for revision on the chemistry and science lovers channel. Okay, good luck and goodbye.